Within Welsh Water 2050, we have the ambition of creating a catchment management programme to ensure that we safeguard clean drinking water for future generations. And we recognise as part of that we're going to need to undertake research, and we also need to learn from others. The one which is always recognised as being global industry leader is the work that's happened in the Catskills area, the area that supplies New York City. And so there's some real learning opportunities for us there to understand what's worked practically, so in terms of the solutions that they've put in on the ground, but also how they've managed those people relationships.
Well, at the conference it's been a great opportunity to work with colleagues from the Catskills there, the public water supply for New York, who've been at this for 20 years. They've learned a lot of lessons about in practice how do you work with communities, working in partnership, in areas like protecting the public water supply, improving the quality of agriculture and land use in the area, multiple benefits. So practical examples that we can draw on, and also just that ethos of working together towards a common goal. So it's been great to get their worldwide best practice and get some ideas that we then as a community of groups can think about how could we take some of those ideas and apply them in Wales.
So we've been all here sharing our experience in catchment management with the folks from Welsh Water. New York City's drinking water supply supplies water to about 9.5 million people in New York. One of the things that makes New York City's water supply unique is that it's an unfiltered water supply. But in order to remain unfiltered, we have to meet some very high criteria for protecting water at its source. This allows New York City to avoid having to build a $12 billion filtration plant that would also cost us about $200 million a year to operate. It would be the biggest public works project in the history of New York City. So we have a very big incentive to make sure that we are protecting water at its source. And in order to protect water at its source, we have to work with a whole array of partners in our catchment area, from farmers to local communities to fishing experts and forestry experts, to make sure that what happens on the land is compatible with protecting the quality of the water that ends up in New York City's reservoirs. So we've been here all week sharing this experience with the folks from Welsh Water because they're looking to do much the same that we're doing.
I think there's no doubt that the key to our success has been working with farmers and making sure that the farmers are actually the ones who lead this program. It's a voluntary program, and of course it's fully funded. Those are two really important points, but in the end farmers have to run it. Farmers started it, and that means farmers trust it. I think the similarities sometimes are a little bit hard to see, but of course you're very agricultural, so that's it. And it's funny, as I've talked to various groups this week, when there are farmers in the group and I talk about the part about having it farmer-led, I see a lot of head nodding. Farmer communities are like that. They trust each other and they listen and talk to each other and try to figure out between and among themselves how whatever it is going to affect them.
We believe in that the catchment area, the watershed, that we refer to it as a watershed, protecting that is really the first line of defense. We were invited to Wales to share what we have accomplished and what we have learned over the past 20 years in the Catskill watershed. So what we've learned is that people, generally speaking, want to do the right thing. They need the resources to do the right thing. There's a whole raft of programs that can be accomplished with determination and with partnerships. Education is also a huge concern. The Catskill Watershed Corporation works with the Watershed Agricultural Council and other agencies and organizations in the region and in New York City to try to convey the importance of freshwater quality, maintaining freshwater quality, the importance of working together, both the stewards of the water in the watershed, the consumers in the city. It's not simply a technical matter to install, fencing to keep cows or sheep out of the water or whatever else you have to do. You have to think about the motivations of the people who live there and how best to reach them.
So one of the things that we've learned from the Catskills is the importance of sustainability of relationships. But what's been really heartwarming really for me is to realise that some of the solutions that we think will work in Wales, they've demonstrated works within the Catskills. Some of the ways that we've been developing relationships in Wales is also how they've developed their relationships in the Catskills. And actually by getting it right early on, they've been able to sustain that over 20 years now. We recognise the importance of collaboration, and so it was really important to us that it wasn't just us hearing this message, but all of the people that we need to collaborate going forward, whether that's within research or whether that's land managers or whether that's policy makers and decision makers. And I think that's given us a really good foundation now to build on for the future.